Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
With just 2 rounds to go, you may have just missed last week, possibly the greatest duel that sim racing has ever got to you. It was one of the legendary scraps between Jared Filsell and Brody Kostecki, and we head to the double header for the final 2 rounds of the championship. We start with this one first as we head to the home of horsepower. This is the Sandown International Motor Speedway, Motor Raceway even, and with what is going to be 2 rounds to go, it is now fully into point accumulation mode for everybody now to step up and say this is what they're capable of. Welcome to this SimSpeed TV presentation here, brought to you on SimSpeed TV and with iRacing as well. My name's Jake Sperry, Brady Baldwin alongside with me for company, Daniel Yeaman in the production truck for this one. But Brady, from last time out, a sensational battle between 2 of the very best that the sim racing and the real world has to offer. But when we head to here, this is a place where it is all about slipstream and it's all about overtaking.
Yeah, sure is, Sperry. Unfortunately, I did miss out on last week, but it was certainly one hell of a battle between those 2 drivers, and I'm sure at least one of those guys will be able to continue it tonight, hopefully with someone else stepping up to face him off as we head down into southwest Victoria, Sandown, just northeast of the Melbourne CBD, a historic track in the Australian racing history. Opened in 1962, just over 3 kilometres in length, 3.1 to be exact, 13 turns in a clockwise direction. Everyone knows it, and it's certainly one of the more challenging tracks on the schedule, even though it looks very basic.
Well, you can see here that it's one of the few circuits built around a race course, which is made out there, very similar to the likes of Aintree, for example, back in the United Kingdom in the 1950s. But this is all about top speed. You got that big run into turn 1, you got that run back up the hill to turn 6 through the S's and into Dandenong Road. And then, of course, you've still got a chance at turn 11 if you didn't quite get the moves done. 11 and 12 can be a switchback opportunity to go and make overtakes. It is a wonderful bit of racing circuit here, just on the outskirts of Melbourne here in Springvale, Victoria, and we are going to be seeing just how incredible this battling will promise to be. Now, in terms of where they stack up here today, that they've got championship aspirations, some others are going to be a little bit on the back foot. Drop rounds provisionally counted at the moment, and Jared Filsell extends his margin out to about 40 points there at the top of the standings over Brody Kostecki, but no Brody here today is going to mean that this is going to be a little bit tougher for him to score the points, and he'll have to use another drop. Rehan Lianaj finds himself in third with Richie Stanaway now up into fourth. Madison Down still in fifth with Thomas McMillan sixth and Ryan Jones in seventh. It's then Blake Warboys, who is eighth position ahead of Robbie Gibbs, and Luke Rosella rounding out the top 10. That's pretty much as star-studded as you can get for this new field of Supercars drivers, with this change in the guard with the brand new Mustangs and Camaros which are in play here, Brady.
Yeah, it's a star-studded top 10, that's for sure. Bit of experience from the sim world in Phil Sell, Leonard and Madison Down, obviously, and then real-world drivers Brody Kostecki and Richie Stanaway mixed in there as well. Obviously, their sim exploits are very highlighted in their career as well. So very good top 10, and unfortunately a few of those guys missing out tonight, but either way we've still got a very much star-studded lineup here for Sandown.
Yeah, we've got 41 laps worth of racing here today, so they are going to be flying about with everything that they can possibly imagine around this track, and this is what they've got to deal with. 127 kilometers worth of racing, a tank capacity which is locked to 60% of their overall, which means they'll be looking around at their fuel burn, and they'll need probably about 29 to 36 litres of fuel to add at their pit stop, which means as a pit window, we're expecting with about 12 laps to go, the final drivers to jump into the pits and make their pit stops. But we have seen that extend, and we have seen that decrease out there, and especially at a slipstreaming circuit, you can extend by a couple of laps if you are being very coy with the way that you are playing with that fuel burn. But qualifying is currently underway. We've got 8 minutes worth of qualifying. They've got 2 laps available to them to go and set a time, and it's now all about putting yourself in the best possible position here today at Sandown. And one thing I can say, Brady, is that we are in some very overcast conditions here. This is about the coldest that the track's going to be, which means that the track is probably running at its very quickest.
Yeah, drivers will have gripped optimal at the moment during the 8-minute qualifying session. Unfortunately, no rain on the horizon here tonight. I was hoping we'd get a little sprinkle, but nothing on the radar, so it'll be dry all race long. Ryan Leonard on track at the moment. He's currently P2 in the qualifying stand. He's P1, though, is the number 3 car for TTR. Jake Maloney, a 1 minute 7.992, but the Lobs Esports machine of Jared Filsell is about to complete his first flying lap, and surely he'll be near the top.
Well, it's a monster split here today. We've got 32 cars on display, and here goes Filsell making the charge over towards the line. A 107.9 is the time to beat, and he will beat it, and he'll beat it comprehensively by almost 0.4 of a second. He puts a 107.614 down on the board and says, you know what, that is magical for lap time. And jumping up, Adam Hughes goes 9th fastest for the OPR Blackout team. So for one performance, Hughes, who had a good run, of course, at the Red Bull Ring last time out, he manages to jump up. Benjamin Roberts, we don't often see him running out there overall. He's more of a, I would say, a traditional GT racer. He's found himself up into P5.
Yeah, it's a mega lap, and Ryan Leonard also has improved on his second lap to go second on a 107.8 as well. Corey Preston has just crossed the line into 5th on a 108.0. Jake Maloney as well did improve on his second lap, but will stay 3rd quick. Jared Filsell has aborted his second lap, so he is done, but that is a mighty impressive lap to be nearly 3 tenths ahead on such a small circuit.
Well, he feels comfortable out there, and I would say he's got a quarter of a second with the margin that he's been able to pull together. Just looking around, there are drivers out there on laps. Ryan Muller is one of them. Jack Mara yet to set a lap time. 3 drivers without lap times currently at the moment and looking to try and improve. So everyone is either out there searching or hoping that there are going to be lap times to be found a little bit later on. Under the bridge goes Muller as he now makes his way to turns 11 and 11 and 12 out on track, and you've got to just try and stamp the power down. You can see the tail kicking out as they go through the small kink of turn 13. Muller over to the line, and a 108.1. That's good enough to be inside the top 10, but just for now, P10, Borg behind him 11th.
Yeah, Borg, he just gets his lap in at the death there. Into P11 on 108.2. Looks like Jack Mara, he's starting his second lap. His first lap a little bit off the pace at 110.6. So Dylan Golson on his first lap as well. And Tim Mulford better cross the start-finish line as well. His first lap at 109.0. Second lap, he goes to a 108.8. Will improve time, but not position.
Tim Mulford there coming over the line for Phoenix, 108.8 there for him, only 27th fastest. You've got Dylan Golson currently out there running the mock-up DJR Penske livery out there and trying to really charge over for a first flying lap. We'll see what Dylan can do. Number 11 car would indicate quite a bit of pace, but a 108.6 out there is only good enough for 25th position, so needs to gear it up, and you do need to get these tyres into a bit of an operating window to go and attack, because you can see there is a couple tenths of a second. He batters the outside curb at turn 1 through the chicane of 2 and 3, and this short transfer into turn 4, you do have to hit the brakes almost immediately after you exit turn 3 to get the rotation in through the corner, and then up along through the kink of turn 5 and cresting the hill.
Yeah, like we said pre-races, very difficult track. There's a lot of heavy braking zones, a lot of heavy acceleration zones as well, and a lot of fast parts, like at the end of the back straight there through 6, 7 and 8, the downhill run to Dan End on road. Very hard to get the car pulled up into turn number 9. Then under the bridge, the Penrite Bridge, running to turn number 11. Looks like a pretty clean lap so far. It unfortunately locks the rears into 11, into 12. They'll compromise his run into there. He'll be delayed on throttle out of 12 through 13, the kink over the start finish line for Golson. It's going to be improvements still at 108.3. They'll put him in 19th, and I don't think we've got anyone else still left to set a time.
No, I think that will be that in terms of qualifying. I think everyone's pretty much got their numbers down in the books. So I think at this moment in time, we can say, well, these are what everybody has managed to do. It's not often that you see everybody set a representative time in qualifying, but that is something what we've got, and we will have the opportunity to head over to the starting grid to see how everyone stacks out here at Sandown. It is Jared Filsell. No surprises with the way that he has conducted himself in this championship. The SpongeBob helmet is going to be smiling from ear to ear. His pole position of 107.614 is a quarter of a second faster than Rehan Lianaj, who is there alongside him on the front row. Jake Maloney will line up in third position along with James Chastanerth. He will go from position number 4, as it will be at the moment. I believe we're just about getting that switch over. Yes, we do. And then in 5th and 6th, it's Corey Preston, who's there in the number 29 car. He belies his iRacing with how quick he can be, along with Benjamin Roberts in 6th position. It's then Steve Jansen, who's there in 7th. Kane Cougamere, we haven't seen him for a little bit, but it's nice to see him out there running. He will go in 8th place, with Jack Widders starting off in 9th and making it Pacific and Racecraft on the top 10, with Ryan Muller there in 10th position. Over to 11th, it is Brian Borg, and he's got the DDSL car of Leo Duncan for company in 12th, with row 7 housing Ryan Campbell for Blackout OPR, and Tyler Jowett, who is there in 14th position. Over to 15th and 16th, where it is Blackout OPR cars surrounding each other. Ryan Bettis and Adam Hughes are there together for company, as William Sapstead will start from 17th, along with Ricky Durham, who's there in 18th position with the Michael Schumacher helmet. In 19th, it's Dylan Golson. We saw his lap time late. And then for Lightning McQueen there, it is going to be Thomas McMillan in 20th. He's got a lot of charging to do up through the field, but he's no stranger to that. Leo Henning and Harry Dodds are there on row number 11. Then over to row 12, where you've got Kenzie Newhoff, who is there in 23rd, with Jack Mara, who is in 24th position, running the Erebus colours, as Rob Bowden starts in 25th for Tank Sim Racing, and Byron Phillips is there for Eclipse in 26th. It's then Christopher Ireland, who's 27th, the first start we've seen for Jax Nov in 28th. You've then got Tim Mulford and Sam Devontier, who make up 29th and 30th. The final two drivers being Jamie Christensen, who is there in 31st position, and Remo Grossenbacher from Club Diach back there in 32nd, a full 8/10 off the pace of his nearest competitor. But it's one of the most unique grids that we have here in iRacing. It is a flat grid rather than a staggered grid, and you would say advantage to the car on the right hand side, who will have the natural grippier part of the circuit to work with. So watch out for Lianage's start, for James Chastanoff and for Benjamin Roberts on this get-go, as they will have that launch over towards turn 1. Lights on and lights out, and we're underway. Phil Sell getting a much better reaction time as he looks to get that launch across this straight and gets that lunge over towards turn 1. On the brakes, got it covered, and Maloney just about deals with Chastanoff as they funnel on through. Already sideways, Golson in the background, and we're going to have two spun around. Wow, what a start there. Golson in trouble. One of the Eclipse cars there getting caught up in it as well, which I believe would be Byron Phillips all the way down at the back. So that's a disastrous start there, but up the hill they will now look to charge for the very first time, hoping that they've got all the launches that they need. So that's going to be worth keeping in mind. We'll bring in Brady Baldwin when we get the chance to, but at the moment, Jared Filsell in control of this field. It's then Lianash, Maloney, Chastanoff in 4th, Preston in 5th, and Benjamin Roberts finding himself in 6th. The opening few laps proved to be important. A little look in the background, the group goes all the way back to Rain Campbell at the moment, who is sat a little bit further back in the order. You've then got McMillan, Duncan, Sapstead on the defence in the background then as they go along this front stretch, because he's having to try and get through Duncan, for position. But a lap scored in the books. Phil Sell through the opening corner, and now looking to dive through the next two lefts and rights out there through turns 2 and 3 to go and attack through turn 4, and trying to build that margin and get that escape. But this is one of the few circuits out there where you are dueling about from place to place. It's very tough to get that escape. You just need to be so committed on the brakes through each and every single section of this circuit. That climb up the hill that we're keeping that notice with, it's an all-important start, and Phil Sell now just trying to build into his margin and break away here at the front of this field. A little bit further back though, the chase is on, and it's getting busy up here at turn 6 with William Sapstead, Leo Duncan being shuffled back, Ricky Durham trying to have a look, defensive line taken into 9 then as they go through. That would have been Harry Dodds on the defence, leaving Henning now to the mercy of Sapstead, trying to find that pass here in this secondary group, which is racing on. Duncan's really dropped back on this lap. He's lost 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I would argue he's lost about 7 or 8 different places on this lap, trying to keep himself in check. But 13 clear, and this group continuing on, and still a bit more side by side further back. You've got Tim Mulford trying to get through. He's got his eyes on Remo Grossenbacher, who's made some good progress off of the start, and a couple of lunges into the opening corner as well, just there in the back. Oh, Christensen there is just shuffling out there, or trying to shuffle out with Jack Mara, and in fact Christensen's going to have to cut over the chicane. And look at this as they now start going forward. Leo Henning almost into the guardrail there on the left hand side there, as he had to be so careful with Tim Duncan going back here in this group. That's just showing you how aggressive they're having to be. And oh, there's the big hit into the guardrail, and around 2 go. So that's going to put Leo Henning in trouble, and also Chris Ireland.
Yeah, unfortunately, Chris Ireland and Leo Henning getting to get there on the back straight. Sorry for leaving you there, Sperry. You had a technical issue on my end. Unfortunately, it's still going on in the background. Christopher Ireland currently down in P25. Looks like battling with Tim Mulford, and still going on just in front of him.
That's Christensen again going off the circuit, having to try and stay out of the way. He's been from pillar to post with the way that he's had to battle on this lap, and he's trying to navigate his way through. Tempers flaring on the radio, left and right and up and down, and nobody wants to be caught in the middle of any of this at the moment. Sam Devontier now side by side running the old Chaz Mostert livery, then trying to get by Tim Mulford and around the outside of one. It's very easy to be shuffled out if you're not careful, and there he is shuffled out, has to safely rejoin, and he'll lose 2 places, sends it back up the inside as Bowden now continues on his scrap here with the likes there of what is behind him, Christopher Ireland. Oh, there goes Mulford, big chunk up behind.
Yeah, unfortunately, another incident down the back of the field. Looks like Mulford is in the fence, one of the Eclipse cars as well, and potentially Byron Phillips in the background. It looks like he's escaped and gone back to the pit lane, but it's all going on in the back of the field, Sperry.
Well, it's all calm at the front of the field. Jared Filsell from Rehan Lianaj and Jake Maloney, that's your top 3, and they're all very happy to play in line and play the game, knowing it's going to be a fuel game that they play with today. Just the one move inside the top 10, Kane Kugamiya, is that one move as he's gone through on Steve Jansen. Now, let's have a look here at Tim Mulford. So he throws it down the inside. There's nowhere to go initially for that move, and he just doesn't get the overlap, but he's just driven through. That's just clumsy.
Yeah, a little bit clumsy there on the exit of turn number 4, and fortunately a few cars damaged and a few cars out of the race because of that. So fortunately for those guys getting caught up, we've got an onboard replay of Grosenbacher in the background. Looks like he gets a little bit of a tag from Mulford and just continues on in the background. Unfortunately, 2-1 doesn't work on the exit turn 4.
No, and he'd have been boxed in as well, so he had nowhere to really dive away from along that section. So that would have been a cause for concern. There is Grossenbacher right now running through turn 4 and over towards turn 5. Up the front, though, that gap for the first time eclipses a second. Jared Filsell has got legs here today, and he's going to stretch them, and he's going to try and break away from Rehan Lianaj exactly the same way that he did with Brody Kostecki over at the Red Bull Ring 1 week ago. Behind that, Jake Maloney for Trans Tasman, happy to sit in 3rd position, and then you got the group that sits just behind that at the moment. Chastaner, Preston, Benjamin Roberts, who's there. You got Jack Widdis also searching about in the group, so everybody is looking around hoping to find that there is a little move. Kane Kugamiya having to be the one at the front who's doing a lot of defensive work. Now this group of 5 could start to get a little bit antsy here in terms of where you find those moves. I think Janssen here is a very patient driver in terms of how he looks to try and construct his moves. He's one who's just going to be looking for the right time to strike, not necessarily any time.
You got to be pretty patient around a type of track like Sandown, as well as not many real overtaking opportunities. Obviously, at turn 1 you can get a move done. Down the end of Denton Row here, where they're entering now, very risky to try and get a move done there. So you'll probably be a little bit patient, maybe save a little bit of fuel, because Kugamiya is nowhere near really on the back of Benjamin Roberts to try and save some fuel. So I think Jensen is smart enough. He's been around a long time. He'll play the long game, save a little bit of fuel, and try and jump him in the pit cycle.
Yeah, that would be the key, and that will look to open in about 5 laps time, but we've got no guarantees of anybody making a pit stop then in the early going. So that is going to be what's worth keeping in mind, that these drivers will be trying to extend as long as they possibly can. Now, there is a little bit of an undercut when it comes to tyre strategy. Those tyres certainly have a very good opening peak, and they do fade off a little bit quick out there. So you've got about 3 or 4 laps of great tyre life to work with before it does drop away. So we could see some undercuts finding themselves in play, but this group will be looking around and trying to do what it can. But meanwhile, in second, Jake Maloney ever stalking the back of Rehan Lianaj here, the Phoenix Racing Team versus Trans Tasman, and up into turn 6, no dice at the moment, but Maloney's been in this game too long to realise that he doesn't need to make this move right now. He knows how quick Rehan Lianaj is, the young wonder kid that he is at the moment, and knows that if he wants to go and beat him out in this race, he's just got to play the patience card.
Yes, the young star versus the veteran in the supercars. So it's going to be very interesting how this plays out. We're only finishing lap number 7, starting lap number 8 in this race. So we're not even quarter of the way through this race. But Jack Malay, very experienced. He's going to probably sit behind Rayan Leonard for a little while.
Yeah, Ryan Muller right now side by side in the front stretch. Go back to this because they are banging panels on the front, trying to get it sorted. Muller versus Widdis. Widdis on the outside, nothing he can do. Ryan Muller getting the move done, and needed to with that, as he was fighting with everything he got. He tried the launch at turn 9, trying to get it done, and it took him all the way until turn 1 before he could confirm the move. That just shows you how hard he's having to fight for each and every place here at Sandown.
Yeah, that was a brilliant move from Ryan Muller, and banging doors all the way down the back straight. It's always cool to see, so really nice. But we might pick up on the SimSpeed replay. This is going down the back straight. It started all the way down at the back straight through Dandenong Road. They were nose to tail all the way through. Has a little look down the inside and gets just far up enough at turn number 10 to squeeze him. And then this little run into the last complex, still side by side, Sperry. Widders and Ryan Muller down the inside at turn number 12, and they drag race and bump doors all the way to turn number 1 and give their spot to Ryan Muller.
I'll tell you what, they fought with everything they could there. A little bit of side draft use. If your name was Cam Waters, you'd certainly know how good that would be to use as he went through. But Widders just never got himself alongside to fight back into the corner. And ultimately, the Pacific Esports Racing driver of Muller was able to hold that place. This is Ricky Durham, though, and this is also what's happened to him. So up over the top, he gets well out of the way of the likes there of Thomas McMillan and co. And I think he's just pulled it over to the side of the road and called it a day.
Yeah, it looks like Durham has retired, and it looks like we've had an engine failure as well, potentially, yes. Bit of smoke from the rear end of the 25 of Ricky Durham. Unfortunately, his race will be over. Looks like Jack Mara, Leo Duncan, Byron Phillips, Leo Henning. Leo Henning's actually back on track for 4 laps down, so he officially got 4 retirements now in this race.
Well, someone like Henning's going to be fighting for iRacing and safety rating here, trying to get as much as he can out of it. Still, it persists with Lianaj and Maloney behind as well, with Kugamia and Janssen. The group in the middle of all of that is housed by Chastaner, Preston, and also to someone like Benjamin Roberts. And really unique situation actually on that straight from Corey Preston, who I think just grabbed the curb a little bit too aggressively and spun up the rear, so he can't afford to do that too often. Janssen searching, but only that, he is searching. He still hasn't quite acquired that overtake, but into turn 2. It's a very unique section, turn 1 to turn 2. It's a straight just long enough to give yourself a thought, but just that, a thought for the majority of these drivers in these cars.
Yeah, 100%. It's a very tricky part of the track, 1 through to 4, very tight, very narrow, very hard to get a move done as well. And Ryan Miller's closed right on the back of Kugamia and Steve Janssen in this battle for P number 7 in this race. So very interesting that it's all bunching up now for this position number 7. Jack Widders and Brian Borg not far behind either. So still another 5-way battle pack for P7. I think still Steve Janssen. Looks like he's definitely got a bit more pace than Kugamia, but he's just waiting patiently for the race to unfold a little bit.
Well, we're here at the home of horsepower, and the Mustang trying to run away from the Chevrolet Camaro. It's a Mustang behind as well in the form of Ryan Muller, who is trying to give that chase and gain that place. But at least for now, it's looking like it is becoming a tough challenge to make these passes, and there's a long laps that they're having to deal with here. It's a 69-second lap from Kane Kugamia, 109.2. I just want to put it into perspective here. That's 0.7 of a second slower than your race leader, Jared Filsell, who's out now to almost a 3-second margin at the front of this field into turn 4, and suddenly that pack opens back up again. Muller forms this small bridge between the divide, leading the 2 racecraft simulation cars of Widders and Borg, who are there. And look at this trio of blackout OPRs: Rayton Campbell, Ryan Bettis, Adam Hughes. Can they work together to chase down?
You can certainly use the toe to your advantage if you can work together with someone, try and close up on the field up ahead. The draft is not as predominant in these new cars compared to the old Gen 2 cars, so it might be a little bit more difficult for these teammates to work together to try and work their way forward, but their lap times a little bit off the guys in front, especially Rayton Campbell, who's leading the pack. Ryan Bettis and Adam Hughes, their lap times are pretty comparable to Borg, Widders and Muller ahead, so it'll be interesting to see how these Bucker OBR cars fare for the rest of this race.
Well, they need to do a little bit of work here to get themselves onto the back of that next group, because they are down by 2.2 seconds and they dropped 0.2 on that last lap. So they've still got more to do if they want to try and climb up forward. But these groups are starting to coalesce into their own little battle packs at the moment, and we are starting to see it. Rob Bowden there a little bit further back, still dealing with Christopher Ireland after the opening lap's worth of malaise that were there and dealt with. He's up 5. Ireland, despite his spin around, is up 6, which just goes to show you how aggressive the opening laps were and how many drivers got caught out wrong place, wrong time.
Yeah, certainly it's very action-packed in the first few laps, and Ryan Campbell now has been given the spot to Ryan Bettis up ahead. So Ryan Campbell has said it a lap ago, struggling for a little bit of pace leading. So it looks like Ryan Bettis is now going to lead the Blackout OPR train to try and catch the Racecraft Simulations cars ahead. So we'll try and report on their progress in a few laps' time and see if they make any inroads whatsoever.
It's like watching a team time trial out there in the cycling very much. If you watch the Tour Down Under or anything like that, I know we're heading into classic season in that regard, but it's very much a case of these three having to do the work at the front of this quote-unquote peloton, because you've got Tyler Jowett on the back, Harry Dodds and William Sapstead, who don't want to do any of the work, but when you've got three in the team, you can do all the work, and that's what they're looking at. There is a look at the Racing Forces car of Kenzie Newhoff, who's trying to battle with Thomas McMillan. He's part of the same team as Alex Seviano, who we've seen so many times over the course of this season, but Newhoff here, who has 7,000 iRating of his own, is struggling here to find a way past McMillan, and McMillan, who normally makes progress, hasn't been able to make any today.
Yeah, unfortunately, McMillan not making too much ground early on. This is a very difficult track to pass, and he was caught up in a few shenanigans early on, but Brian Borg actually just had a spin at turn number 4, and Kugamir actually had a slow down. He had to serve on the front straight, so he lost a lot of ground in that sequence as well, and he's still battling here with the two OPR cars, but Brian Borg had a spin at turn 4 all on his own, just lost the rear end into turn number 4. Now he's behind Ryan Bettis, so unfortunately for Brian Borg, one of the veterans of the sim racing community in the V8s, just a little mistake. We'll try and pick up a replay if we can.
Yeah, I think he just got a little bit too far over the curb going in through 3 and entering 4. So you can see here, goes through 2 and 3, trying to carry the speed. You can see he's right up on the right, 2 tyres in the grass. The back decides he wants to loop around. Kugamir takes a whack on the front. Nothing he can do. And well, Blackout OPR says, well, this is exactly the situation that we planned for. And straight by both of them went Ryan Bettis. Yeah,
Bettis benefited from that a lot and got a few spots. Kugamir, unfortunately, now behind 2 of the OPR cars. Brian Borg is now in between the Blackout OPR sandwich at the moment, so it'll be very interesting to see how the rest of this. And Jake Maloney now into second over Ryan Leonard, so obviously Maloney's got a little bit more pace at the moment. We'll try and pick up a replay of where he got the move done.
It was turns 2 and 3. It was a mistake by Lianaj, and we don't see too much of it there. He just grabbed the entry a little bit wrong, was all out of shape, and then Jake Maloney just said, thank you very much. So through turn 1, watch this here from Rehan Lianaj. This is what he has to be very careful of. He goes all the way over to the left-hand side, almost catches himself in the grass. He's too early then on the rotation, attacks too heavy over the curb, and then suddenly Jake Maloney is given a freebie down the inside to make that move sorted. So Lianaj falls back into third. Jake Maloney now up in second position.
Yeah, just missed his turn and entry a little bit there into turn 3, maybe coming a little bit too fast as well, and both them combined unfortunately led to that small mistake, and Jake Maloney was close enough to capitalise. Now is Maloney going to be fast enough to try and Ryan Campbell? Does he have an issue? Yes, he does. He's fallen down in quite a bit of damage on the front of the Blackout OPR machine, Sperry.
Yeah, he's just overcooked it into 4, and he's gone careening straight on, and he's actually just clipped the tyre barrier. So that's put Ryan Campbell right to the back of the group. We'll take a look at this then. It seems like no matter where you look, something's going on here in this race. But Campbell attacks through 2, attacks through 3, but again, he's way too high up over the curb. He can't get any rotation in through the corner, and then he just has to tag his Mustang into the wall, and he relegates himself to the back of the train.
Yeah, unfortunately, pretty similar to the Brian Borg incident, except he went straight on. Brian Borg spun the car around. So, fortunately for those two guys, a little mistake can cost you dearly here at Sandown. For Ryan Campbell, way down the field now after nearly battling for a top 10 result.
Over a minute in the pits for Remo Grossenbacher, so I would say he's pulled that in of his own accord and won't be coming back out again. So we'll take a little look here at Grossenbacher as he went through the opening corner. Oh, this isn't going to be nice, and he's done very well to keep it out of the barriers there. That was as close as you can get here at Sandown to going into the barriers without it actually flying in there. So when you've got a circuit like this, which feels very street-like, and a lot of the Australian circuits have this street-like feel. The only one I think that doesn't is Phillip Island. You really get that look and that sense of, well, what more can you do about it to keep yourself out of trouble? This is a tightrope style of race.
Yeah, you got to set your car up a particular way as well around a track like Sandown. especially because there's a lot of curbs around here, and you got to use them to be fast. So you got to set your car up a very particular way to be able to ride those curbs without unsettling the car too much. And it seems like a few guys have ridden the curbs and the car's not quite settled as what they would like, and also putting them off into the grass on the outside, and there's no grip on the grass whatsoever. So I'm board with Benjamin Roberts at the moment. It's the first time I actually remember him in a race this season. Apologies to Ben if he has been in a few top split races, but doing a very nice job at the moment. P6 in by Corey Preston and James Chastanoff as well. So nice little battle pack for me here for P4.
Benjamin Roberts is someone who looks to put himself in a lot of different machinery. He was out in the IMSA Vintage Series on iRacing yesterday. When it came to the Audi GTO, he was third in that race before he got turned around by the leader of the Nissan GTP. So he's very good in classics. He's very good when it comes to GT. He does love driving around in his Ferrari out here on iRacing. But at least for the moment, Benjamin Roberts sat there in 6th position, eyeing up Corey Preston, who I think definitely has a great turn of pace, is someone who can definitely go up there and be one of those challengers who could maybe kick forward. But sometimes for Corey Preston, he gets in his own way a little bit. So how does he look to manage that when he goes out and races?
Yeah, Corey Preston certainly does have a lot of pace. He can certainly turn it on. Just raced him recently in the V8 Pro Invitational Qualifying Series and certainly showed a lot of pace throughout that series, but unfortunately he had a few undoings, whether it was on his own or in someone else's case, someone else's fault. So unfortunately he does have a lot of pace and is showing it again tonight, but it looks like he's under a little bit of pressure from Ben Roberts at the moment as we're on board the rear wing of Ryan Bettis in the Simbriggs.com sponsored Blackout OPR car with Brian Borg, the veteran, the unattained People's Champion, in on his rear bumper, and Brian Borg down the inside might make a move down at the end of the back straight. Going to be very risky if he can get a very bold move, and Bettis rolls out of it to let Borg past.
Yeah, no point fighting up at turn 6. Thomas McMillan, the first real taker into the pit lane then, so he will set the scene for everyone else trying to go for a big undercut on what some of the other drivers can manage. But for Ryan Bettis, not much he can do except let that one go, as in comes Corey Preston, first of the leaders then to make that call. Preston, who'd been struggling out of a couple corners, then finds himself there, 13.7 in the box, 32 second lane transit for Thomas McMillan.
Yes, very interesting to see someone pitting a little bit earlier than probably what I expected in the case of Corey Preston. So we'll see if an undercut potentially works, if he can jump James Chastanoff in the pit lane, in the pit cycle. So it'll be very interesting to see what Chastanoff does now. Does he react and come in this lap, or does he go a little bit longer? So very long stop for Corey Preston, 16 seconds. We'll see what Harry Dodds, he's in the lane as well.
That looks like an overfuel for me from Corey Preston, and he won't be too pleased about that. Rob Bowden and Harry Dodds also down in on the lane, so they are both looking to try and make their fuel strategies work out to give themselves the best chance in the second half of this race. The lead gap, by the way, remains at about 5.8 seconds here at the front for Jared Filsell. He is waltzed away from the likes of Jake Maloney, and Maloney here is putting Rehan Leonage at risk of being dropped here from second, as in comes Chasty behind to make his stop. The Banter Alliance are in.
Steve Jansen also in the lane as well from his battle with Ryan Miller and Jack Witter. So very interesting. Those guys are coming to pit. So Ben Roberts will stay on. He's position number 4. And again, touching on Jared Filsell, we've barely talked about him for most of the series, unless that battle last week at Red Bull Ring with his good mate Brady Kostecki, but he's just been so dominant in the races he's been doing. He's going to be a very hard man to beat in any race he does in 2025.
14.6 from James Chastanoff as Brian Ball continues his defence. I think Chasty's going to come out here quite comfortably ahead of Corey Preston. Preston stays ahead of Steve Jansen as they go, so nicely worked, and gets out ahead as well of Remo Grossenbacher, who's back out on circuit. So for James Chastanoff, he's got clean air to Dylan Golson. He can just go and attack and now just use all of what he's got. He's built 2 seconds, and now Benjamin Roberts, if he were to decide to come in now, I think he's got a great chance of overcutting here on the strategy call against his rivals, but he might go as long as he possibly wants. He'll stay out longer. So right now we are fully in the pit window of what do you want to do, where do you want to do it. From the back of Brian Borg we look right now as they all continue out here right now. Borg leading Bettis, Hughes, Cougar Mia, Tyler Jowett and William Sapstead.
I think the strategy for Ben Roberts is to go long now. Those guys that he was racing around, they've gone early. So I think the right idea for him is to go a little bit longer and try and overcut, have a better tyre advantage at the end of the race. And if it's time to start to drop off a little bit too much, he might pull it in. But I think the right strategy call to be made here is to go a little bit longer and see what he can do later.
Speaking of which, Golson into the pits as we focus on Jax Knob. First time we've seen Jax over the course of this season. He looks behind in a mock-up Holden then as he looks to try and show his allegiances in the Chevrolet, and he's got the very damaged Tim Mulford. Look at that front bumper that's there from Tim right now. The bonnet crinkled up each and every way. That's going to be affecting his straight line and also his fuel consumption.
Yeah, it wouldn't be ideal, especially on a track like Sandown. It's going to hurt you a lot more. Some other tracks, it wouldn't really affect you. Somewhere like a Winton, it wouldn't affect you at all. But somewhere like Sandown, where it's nearly all just straight line, 2 drag strips, you could say, with a few corners in between, it's certainly going to hurt him. You can see here, he can't quite pull up beside Jack's off to try and get a move done with that aero damage on the front.
Oh, and a little bit bopped into the corner. That was early on the brakes by Jax. Leo Henning, nowhere to go. And so the move made by Mulford, and McMillan's trying to get into the mix as Jack Widders picks it there. Nowhere you can deal with that. That's a freight train and a half. Jax Knob, welcome to iRacing C-Class Supercars. 3 places gone, and the fresh tyres of McMillan. Oh, he's just brute forcing his way through. He says, I will get through come hell or high water.
Yeah, McMillan just forced his way through there to get a spot on Jackson off, and obviously the lap car of Leo Henning as well, who's fighting pretty hard for a guy that is a few laps down. So McMillan does get that move on Jackson off for P20, but he still has to serve his pits off. And looks like Remo Grossenbacher as well has gone off the circuit on the exit turn 1.
That's not good, but in comes Rehan Lianaj there in the background. So Rehan has to do something in this race if he wants to go and get second position. And he decides, I'm losing too much time to Jake Maloney. I'll come in earlier, get my tyre advantage, and then try and defend it off if I can just make the places count. So Rehan Lianaj into the pits, and he's followed by Roberts and followed by Muller and followed by Sapstead.
There's quite a few cars in the lane. Benjamin and Roberts, like you said, Miller, Sapstead, all in the lane. So it'll be interesting to see where these guys come out. Ryan Leonard out of his box, now onto the racetrack. So it'll be interesting to see where Ben Roberts comes out. He was racing around James Chasnoff before Chasnoff pulled into the pit lane. Chasnoff will drive past now. It's going to be very close in the exit. Chasnoff will get it done. And now Corey Preston's going to be right on the back of Ben Roberts as well, who will be on a cold tyre. So Roberts will have to defend for a few corners and hopefully can use that tyre advantage to try and catch James Chasnoff for P4. But Ben Roberts has gained a spot on Corey Preston.
Yeah, the sun's come out for him as well here in these mostly cloudy conditions. Missed apex there by Corey Preston, and I think that pretty much tells you all you need to know on these very cool 21 degrees ambient, 20 degrees out there in terms of this track circuit. In fact, other way around, it is very much a case of a track that has stayed pretty placid all race long, and there's not much that these drivers can deal with. Now, more drivers jumping in, and this is a big group that's coming. Brian Borg, Ryan Bettis, and Tyler Jowett all together.
Yeah, guys are pitting in grooves by the looks of it so far in this race. Obviously, Phil Sell, Maloney still out in front, have not pitted yet. So it'll be interesting to see where Borg, Jowett and Bettis all come out on the racetrack once they... So the pits off Bettis off the Jackson, so is Brian Borg very close. And looks like Bettis might just have it. There's nothing in it though.
Well, you say nothing in it, that is about as nothing in it as it gets here, and they will have to race each other, and they will not get clearance until someone decides to yield, and ultimately Brian Borg yielded as they came onto the straight, and that's what they come out into here with everyone behind. Jowett's going to get leapfrogged by Thomas McMillan into the opening corner, and there's going to be contact straight across. It's going to go Jowett here. He's going to now have to scramble across the grass all the way through turn 2 to turn 3. He's got to be so careful about this rejoin because it'll come right into the line of everyone else, and bang! He gets turned around into the wall by Leo Henning.
That was very awkward at turn number 1 between Jowett and Nick Miller. I don't think I can really put a fault on anyone. And then obviously the rejoin right in front of Leo Henning, another very awkward moment, unfortunately, for Tyler Jowett, who was running very well. So the race, unfortunately, he's going to be right down the back of the field.
Well, Thomas McMillan knew he had to go and make this move. Jowett is straight out to the pits and out to the frying pan, into the fire. McMillan, we know, has been aggressive trying to make these moves, and he just gets into the side. I don't know how much of that is Jowett leaning, trying to get into these corners, but you start searching around when you've got to be so careful on the rejoin here because everyone's trying to pivot to that outside. And look at that from Leo Henning. He'd got to have known. You'd have seen him a mile away on that return to get out on track. For Henning, that's clumsy. He should have been moving to the inside and slowing the pace.
Yeah, a bit clumsy from everyone involved, unfortunately, and it sees Jowett right in the back of the field. But if you can have a look, Benjamin Roberts right on the back of James Chasnoff, though, is still going on in the background, but Roberts has closed in on the back of Chasnoff. 3/10 that last one by is Jake Maloney, P2 in the lane.
Big junk up, Sapstead, McMillan, and it's jammed. The track's jammed.
The track is jammed, unfortunately. Ryan Campbell involved, Thomas McMillan, Sapstead, and Harry Dodds. Here's Philsell coming on the scene late. This is going to affect Philsell. He's caught up.
Unbelievable. Where does Jared Philsell go in all of this? And he's blocked off in everything. A massive change here that's going on. Philsell absolutely losing all the time. Maloney had just pitted as well. So this is huge in terms of the race. Maloney's going to come out. He's behind Rehan Lianash. The race changes on a dime.
This is going to absolutely murder Jared Philsell. He probably lost 10, 15 seconds in that. That was very clumsy from everyone involved, and Jared Philsell had absolutely nowhere to go. There was cars parked 3, 4 wide across the track. Unfortunately, Jared Philsell is going to have a lot of work to do. We'll try and pick up a replay of the incident if we can, but Jared Philsell is going to be fuming under the helmet of that Lobs Esports Camaro.
He is going to be so distraught because that is not his fault. He's just been caught up in someone else's incident. It was William Sapstead coming out of the pits with Kane Kugamia has brought it together, and now in comes Jared Philsell. So let's take a look at this. This is Sapstead then as he fights Thomas McMillan as he goes through, and McMillan just gets his quarter panel there. That's just so unnecessary from McMillan, and then the road gets jammed because it is simply put too wide through there massively. Mulford trying to get himself turned around, and Philsell's going to join the scene here with Harry Dodds. Mulford a very poor rejoin to try and get back going, and Philsell just finds himself blocked on the inside. Crucially, no contact, or not much, and then Mulford just tries to reverse out of the way, and it's just a comedy of errors from that point onward. Philsell just leaves the pits now, and look how far Jared Philsell's back. He's behind Chastanuff, he's behind Benjamin Roberts.
This is absolutely destroying Jared Philsell's race. He's now behind Steve Yance as well. He's going to be P7. Everyone in front of him has pitted. So Jared Philsell's got a lot of work to do. He's not going to touch the top 2. That's for sure. He's about 5 seconds behind James Chasnoff for 3rd. With the pace he has, I would not put it past him to get back up to 3rd. That's probably the best he's going to hope for, but he's going to have the red eyes on. He's going to get the moves done, I think, and going to be very aggressive to get his way back to the front.
Well, the one thing you got to note now is that Jared Philsell has nothing to deal with except go forward. The red mist will descend and he'll look at every place and say, that's mine. You look around, though, at what's happened. Thomas McMillan took a black flag out there, so he'd hit 17 instant points. No surprises. He's in the box now to serve his penalty, but it's now Lianaj versus Maloney for the race win. Chastanuff versus Roberts versus Preston, and you argue Philsell as well for the podium. Philsell throws it in deep at turn 11, gets it done on Steve Jansen, who can't pick the run up through turn 12. One done. Next up, the lap car of Tim Mulford, and then Corey Preston.
I think of that incident, he probably will want to get past Tim Mulford pretty darn quickly, and hopefully Mulford can let him go so we can see Jared Philsell go to work. He's quite a ways behind Corey Preston, Roberts and Chasnoff, but with his pace, like we've touched on, he should be able to get to 3rd place. The more important battle we'll probably try and keep an eye on late in the race will be Lianaj versus Maloney. At the moment, the gap is 0.4 of a second with 12 laps to go.
Remember, Maloney's got a tyre advantage here compared to Rehan Lianash. Lianash pitted early to get the jump, and it worked a treat. Here comes Roberts, outside line searching. Chastity defends it up at 6, and if they start fighting like this, everyone comes together for this podium.
They certainly do, and this will invite just more cars into the battle. Preston now closing in, and Jared Philsell, he won't be too far away. The more these guys battle, the better it is for Jared Philsell to make up ground. So he'll be hoping these guys battle all the way to the end, and here comes the battle for the lead as well. Jake Maloney right on the rear bumper of Ryan Lianaj down the inside at turn number 1. The TTR machine of Maloney back to the race lead.
Nothing that Rehan could do about that. Jake Maloney was just consummate on the brakes there. He left it a little bit later. He drove the car in a little bit deeper, had the confidence of his 4 boots underneath him, and now he's going to look to try and walk away in the Trans-Tasman racing car. Lianaj will look around and say, well, this was the fallacy that I dealt with. I can get track position, but what's the caveat of losing track position, Brady? You've got worse tyres at the end of the race.
You can see just 3 laps difference between their tyres, and Maloney did get past Lianaj, remember, before the pit stop cycle, so we know Maloney does have a little bit of pace, not much, but just enough over Ray and Lianaj, and obviously 3 laps tyre advantage he's been put to good use, and he's got the move done, and I think he'll be home and hosed from here. But the battle for third now is still on between Chasnoff, Roberts, Preston now coming into the fight, and also Jared Filsell, who last lap did a 108.2, 6/10 faster than Corey Preston in front, and about a second faster than Roberts and Chasnoff. So Filsell in about 2 laps time is going to be right on the rear bar of this group.
9-1 from Chastaneuf, 9-1 from Roberts, 9-1 from Preston, 7-8 from Jared Filsell. Fastest lap of the race, took 1.3 out of them, and he is sat and he is engaged, looking to try and get what he can out of this. Lianaj is only doing 8.9s. He's a second a lap quicker with 11 laps to go. If Filsell can somehow keep this pace up, he's got only the slimmest chance of battling for the race victory overall here today. But he knows he's got to get through this group and get through this group quick. But it's going to be like trying to get yourself out of a rose bush here. It's thorny, it's prickly, it will take time.
Yeah, I think he's probably going to lose too much time trying to get through the next 3 cars to be able to get to Maloney and Lianaj. The only hope I think he really has is if Lianaj can get back to Jake Maloney and put up a fight and a battle to slow him down. I don't think he's going to get quite close enough, but I think he's easily going to get P3 with the pace he has. If we get Jared Filsell all the time, this guy is so fast normally, but he's putting on a show at the moment with his lap times. So fast, a 7.8 is absolutely ridiculous, Spare.
Yeah. Kenzie Newhoff through then on Kane Kugamia. That'll put him up into 13th position. We'll take a little look at this move. This is, as you like it, up into turn 6 that he gets it done. So looking here through turn 6 now to the left. Wide goes Kugamia, opens the door up with the understeer, and Kenzie Newhoff just says, thank you very much. I'll take that every day and twice on Monday night. Says, now there's trouble in the group for 4th position because Roberts gets shuffled out of line. And now here comes the look from Corey Preston. Jared Filsell is going to follow him every single stage of the way, but how are you going to do? This is just a canter at the moment from Filsell. Roberts is going to have to let this one go, and now Jared's going to try and take advantage of this with the slipstream side by side with Corey Preston, pushes him out of the way. Benjamin Roberts is going to steal this one as well as they go through. He runs out of road, and there is the defense from Preston. Filsell 2 in 1 straight.
That was a big authority move there from Jared Filsell down the inside of Preston. And looks like Ben Roberts just lost the rear a little bit, and then looks like Preston just got into his left rear corner as he had a slide. Unfortunately, that checked Roberts up and lost 2 spots. So that'll be a battle we'll have to watch out for now for 5th place between Preston and Roberts. And now Jared Filsell will have his sights on James Chasnoff. Even with that checking up and battling, Filsell was still 6/10 quicker than James Chasnoff that last time by, and lapping the same times as the race leaders, which is incredible.
Yeah, he's doing wonderful out there here. 9-1s there, but Lianaj did an 8.5 and 8.4 for Jake Maloney. Maloney at risk of breaking 1 second, and for Lianaj, it will be the resignation of that slipstream going away. Here comes Filsell, though. This to get back onto the podium. Chastity's leg will be tapping in his cockpit right now, realising that I've got a fantastic driver there, but Filsell backs out of it because he couldn't get enough of a launch to go alongside. Chastity had the road covered, but there's the lunge at turn 9 to get the pass done, and Chastity can only let him have it as Filsell flies on by.
Filsell now back to 3rd, which we predicted earlier on, but let's see how close he can actually get to the top 2. The gap is 9.6 seconds to the leader, so about 8 seconds to around Lianaj. I reckon he'll probably get within 4 or 5 seconds. I don't think he'll get quite close enough, but Jared Filsell on a mission at the moment.
Well, he's on more than just a mission. He is proving that each and every time he's out there, it is going to be a wonderful, wonderful case of I've got this amount of pace. This should have been under lock and key for Jared Filsell. You'd feel that in this race, it's not his fault tonight. That's just the pitfall of Sandown, how it is so tight, how it is so narrow in certain places. You get one wrong junk up somewhere on circuit and it becomes disastrous. Now watch out behind, because Corey Preston's going to be under pressure now, because Benjamin Roberts wants to bring himself into play and he wants to party and gain a top 5 out of this one. He chases up the hill. He's got better tyres than Preston, but he can't use them up here into turn 6.
Yeah, there's a bit of battling here now between Preston and Roberts for P5. Steve Jansen's not too far away either, so he might be invited in the battle. Jack Witters, Ryan Betters, Brian Borg, and Ryan Mueller also not that far away. So if these guys battle just for a little bit, half a lap to a lap, it's going to invite about another 5 or 6 cars in the battle there for P5.
Yeah, well, you've got to have all your wits about you here. And now here comes the charge from Benjamin Roberts, still looking to try and get that launch sorted. So now you're starting to think, where is that move going to happen? And it's turn 1. He thought about it, moved half a car alongside to get into the mirrors, trying to force a mistake out, but never truly had the intention of making that pass a reality. So again, through 2 and into 3, turn 4 comes along. That's the important setup corner here, turn 4.
Ooh.
And Roberts is all over the apex there on the inside, pretty much clipping the curb as he went, and he does exactly the same at turn 5. He's trying to maximise each and every single section of this track. Now use the slipstream here to get yourself pulled up close. Now you've got the chance, but again, he runs out of road. He just doesn't have enough.
Yeah, he got a really good run off turn 4, but unfortunately not quite close, another quarter of a car length, and he was probably close enough to have a bomb down at the end of the back straight on Preston, but not quite there. He's still got a few laps to go. We're on lap number 34, better to start lap number 35. We'll have 7 laps to go this time by, and looks like he's just got a bit of a speed advantage, obviously few lap fresher tyres as well for Benjamin Roberts. He's trying to put him to good use, but after a few laps it'll plateau out just a little bit, so we'll see if he can get the move done before race is end.
Got to give some credit to some certain drivers out there, and we focus on with one of them right now, Ryan Bettis. He's up 6 places in this race. He doesn't turn up on our most positions gains graphic because that's Christopher Ireland who's got the best of that right now. He's in 15th position, a gain of 12 that he's managed to find despite having a spin earlier on in this race. A mistake by Steve Jansen though through turn 4. We've got to go back to this. Devontae up 11 because Jansen's just lost the place to Jack Witters, and Ryan Bettis might just make his way on to the graphic here if he can get this move done side by side up the hill to turn 6 once again, running the race course perfectly. Ryan Bettis goes through.
Yeah, very nice move, and another driver as Bettis goes a little bit wide on the exit through the chicane. Unfortunately, he will pull it up and lock the move down on Steve Jansen, who just dropped the right rear tyre on the grass on the entry of turn 4. We've seen Brian Borg do it earlier. We've seen a few guys do it throughout this race. Unfortunately, Steve Jansen, another victim on the exit of turn number 3 into turn 4, go that little bit too wide and certainly hurts you quite a lot.
Well, look behind, because there is Borg. There is also Ryan Muller, who's trying to get in. Adam Hughes is desperate to get onto this group as well. This for 7th position on the road right now, and they all want these points. They all want these places. They all want to say, I'm top dog of this group. And Bettis all over the curb, scrambles over to the left-hand side of circuit to attack 2 and 3, and doesn't really get too much of it as they now head through 4 and attack up the hill again. Chastity looking behind as well. James Chastaner for the Banter Alliance sees Corey Preston, sees Benjamin Roberts, and realises, yeah, I'm going to have to defend here in these final 5 laps.
He certainly has, and the 2 guys behind him, Preston and Roberts, last time by at least, were 4/10 faster than Chastanov, so seems like Chastanov just struggling just a little bit in the latter half of this race, and Corey Preston certainly closed that gap. So you see the graphic on the bottom right, last lap, 4/10 difference. Preston and Roberts pretty equal on times there, and Chastanov a 9.2, so just struggling a little bit, so this might be another interesting battle. We'll have to keep an eye out on late in the race.
Yeah, and that battle, I think, is going to be one to keep note of. Chastanerf continues on in his run, a 9 flat from him. Preston 2/10 quicker on that last lap. Will he have something to say about 4th place at the end of this one? He really attacks the curb on the exit of turn 1 though, and into 2 and 3 again they come along. This switchback section leading to 4. You can see the tyre tracks there on the right hand side where cars have gone in. Leo Henning back into the pits again, obviously with troubles for him in this race, but Roberts, remember, still can make a note of this. And you go even further back to the likes there, of course, of Tyler Jowett. Yes, he's trying to recover back. These are the last cars on the leading lap battling here. That's Rob Bowden in front. This for 21st. How sweet.
Yeah, you've seen Tyler Jowett unfortunately got turned around earlier in the race. There's a really good position around the top 10. Unfortunately, it's the nature of this track, how difficult it is to actually get a move done. Yeah, unfortunately, he got turned around. It's been finding his way up since, and Rob Bowden, who's had some really good runs so far in the top split this season, unfortunately, he's had his troubles tonight. Still +4, but it's been a long road for both those drivers here tonight.
Yeah, it's been a game of shuffleboard, I think is the right way to describe it here, where everybody has been trying to keep themselves out of the way of everyone else, but the way that it's all worked together, it's made a lot of a jumbled up mess of the back half of this field, and it's also caught the front in it by comparison. Close again as they go through now into this next section. Oh, Corey Preston's just had a little look, and that might actually compromise him, but now as this battle continues, it's all stationary in that group behind, which we were focusing on screen with Winners and Bettis and Janssen, and now this is the chance you've got to try and go. Big defence then by Corey Preston. Here comes Benjamin Roberts. Betty boy, you're going to have to be brave, but no, he stays timid again. A great chance goes begging once more.
Yeah, a little mistake from Preston. Invited Roberts, who's still on the rear bumper of the number 29 Mustang, but again, not quite close enough. He wasn't going to risk a big move to try and get that move done. He played the smart strategy to sit behind and try again. Looks like Preston struggled again off the last corner. Roberts not quite good enough of an exit to capitalise, but look at this battle group here. Witters, Bettis, Janssen, Borg, Muller, the lap car of Jax, Nov, and also Tim Mulford. This is a great battle pack, and looks like Ryan Bettis is actually getting chased over the track by Jack Witters as well down the front straight. It's fantastic racing, Sperry.
It's great racing here, but Ryan Bettis is struggling for drive off the exit of these corners. They're medium speed off the exit, and so when you want to stamp the power down on the rear, this is a very unique style of car. You get a bucket load of understeer as you go in through the corner, Brady, but you get a whole load of torque oversteer when you decide you want to mash your foot to the floor.
Yeah, 100%. These cars are very sensitive to on-throttle application. You can spin the rear tyres very, very easily, and they take a long time to recover, so you want to try and avoid it as much as possible. Even though the track is cold as it is, you can overheat your tyres quite easily with one little small wheel spin, as Ryan Bettis still on the rear bumper of Jack Witters. Looks like he's got some pace to try and get the move done, but it's not quite close enough. Once again, it's been the story of the race. People not quite being close enough to get the move done.
Well, he's just trying to set this up, and so's Brian Borg, who's going to try and push over to one side Steve Janssen. And this is going to be the move that Brian's been searching for, as he now finds himself without slipstream, but Witters is moving over slightly, trying to defend, so that gives a little toe to go in. Looks from Bettis, he has to abandon out of it as it's defended by Witters through the opening corner. Borgie gets his move. The Brian Borg gets one more as he now finds that pass. Janssen happy with where he is, and look at how it stacks up. Preston with a big mistake has managed to have a moment, and Roberts now having to go all the way to the inside, now finally snipes his P5.
Unfortunately, one mistake too many there for Corey Preston, and unfortunately he's lost that P number 5 now to Benjamin Roberts, who's been working so hard to try and get that move done on Corey Preston, and he's finally got the move done. Now can he try and do anything with James Sasnoff coming up to the final lap of this race?
One lap remains then for Jake Maloney, who leads by 2 seconds. Ryan Muller has a slowdown penalty that he's trying to desperately serve on the back of this group. He served it, but that will take him out of any contention here for the top 10. But for the moment, you just have to say and smile, if you're Jake Maloney, that this is the sort of race that he'd have been hoping for, just to keep it out of trouble. Rehan Lianaj has done a sterling effort of keeping him honest here in this one, but that guy Jared Filsell, well, that he must have walked under a ladder or something, or a black cat crossed his path before this race today, because there is no reason that he shouldn't have won this one with the pace that he showed early on. He just got caught in someone else's trouble. Top 5 still up for grabs then as Chasseneuve looks around. So too Preston, so too Roberts at what they've got, but it looks like the legs are still there as they crest the rise for what will be their final time in this race. You've still got Widders, Bettis, Borg and co who are going on, but Jake Maloney has just a couple corners left to go in a race which needed a little bit of misfortune somewhere for him to come up with the spoils, but a bit of Maloney magic will get it done. Jake Maloney takes the checkered flag and wins at Sandown.
Fantastic win for Jake Maloney. Had to get the job done, Rayhan Leonard, twice throughout that race, and Rayhan will come home second. Unfortunately, Jared Filsell, who, like you said, probably should have won that race, comes home in third. A massive recovery drive as well for him. Chasseneuve holds on for fourth. Ben Roberts, a fantastic drive for fifth. Corey Preston, sixth. And the battle in behind them will be Widders, Bettis, Borg, and also Steve Jansen in 10th. A fantastic race for that battle for 7th all race long.
Yeah, great racing in and around that top 10. It really did prove itself to be as good as you like. Good close battling towards the end. Sapstead can't do much against Rain Campbell coming forward. It was Sapstead who was caught up in the big incident that caught the leaders, and there you can see a battle of the classic liveries getting themselves brought in. Devontier and Golson going at it, and Devontier is going to win out in that regard. So the last of the drivers making their way over, but it is a smile after 47 minutes and 25 seconds worth of racing action. Jake Maloney will come to the line and pick up the win after starting today from third position on the grid. His margin of victory will be classed as 2 seconds over Rayhan Leonard, who tried to make the strategy early but just didn't have enough tyre to fight Maloney at the end of the race. Jared Filsell, wrong place, wrong time. Better luck next time for the championship leader, but he'll still take that as a good solid haul of points in third, with James Chasseneuve in fourth and Benjamin Roberts rounding out the top 5. Able to take that move on Corey Preston. He's got the number 29 next to his name, but that does belittle his pace a little bit. He is someone who could go out there and be top 10 if he keeps himself together. 6th place though is a great result for him, with Jack Widders 7th and Ryan Bettis in 8th position. That slew continuing with Brian Borg and Steve Jansen, who round out the top 10 of the field. Over the page, it's Ryan Muller who would end up in 11th, just half a second off of that group despite the slowdown on the penultimate lap, ahead of Adam Hughes and Kenzie Newhoff. They're finishing off in 13th position, a gain of 10 for him. Kane Kugamia would be 14th, and Christopher Ireland would be your biggest mover, up 12 from 27th to 15th, ahead of Rain Campbell and William Sapstead. You then got Harry Dodds in 18th position, along with Sam Devontier, who gained 11 of his own, and Dylan Golson, who would round out the top 20. Just the 22 would be on the leading lap here today, with Tyler Jowett, who had his big moment, and Rob Bowden as well, with Jack Knov, who would be 23rd a lap down, along with Tim Mulford battling at the end. 4 laps down and finishing would be Remo Grossenbacher, along with Leo Henning 6 laps down, and we saw the trials and tribulations of Thomas McMillan today, which caused the massive issue that we had out on circuit. Jamie Christensen find himself in trouble, the engine going pop for Ricky Durham, Jack Mara in trouble early on, along with Leo Duncan and Byron Phillips having a 4 laps to regret, the pair of them, at the beginning of this race. So I think that tells you all you need to know about such amazing racing that the iRacing C-Class Supercars Series always has to offer. But we've got great racing on the horizon that will be coming in just 1 week's time, because the season finale will be in full view, and we are going old school, Brady. We are back at Oran Park. We have demolished the housing estate that's there now and said, let's go at it. 42 laps, let's race it to end the season.
Yeah, can't wait for Oran Park. Never called a race there, and I've never done a proper race there myself either. So it's going to be exciting for the final week of the season. It's been a fantastic season as well, Sperry, and what a way to finish it off at Oran Park, one of the classic circuits on the Australian motor racing history as well. I'm glad we can race it in the virtual world, and what a way to end off the season.
Well, that's what you can catch with us here with SimSpeed TV and, of course, on iRacing. When it comes to your racing action, 10:15 GMT, 9:15 PM AEDT, if you want to go and get there with us. But it is, of course, one of those days that you just have to sit and say the gods will smile on certain drivers rather than others. From the entire team here, Brady Baldwin, Dan Yeaman, myself, Jake Sperry, Jared Filsell, just desperately unlucky here today. He had that under lock and key and should have been walking to Oran Park with each and every amount of smile he could put together. But the unfortunate of this racing is as this. Sometimes being the quickest doesn't mean you get to win this race. Jake Maloney, right place, right time, right strategy call, and right amount of fortune gets this one done. A big win for Trans-Tasman Racing, and that is what we love about this iRacing C-Class Supercars Series. We'll see you in 1 week's time when the season finale rolls into town as we attack at Oran Park.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.